Asitu girisamam syat kajjalam sindhu patre suratur varashakha lekhani patra murvi likhati yadi gritva sarda sarvakalam tadapi tapagunanam isha paramnayati tavatatvam najanami kidrishopi maheshwara Yadrishopi Mahadeva Tadrishaya Namo Nama from Shiva Mahimna Stotram. O Lord, if the blue mountain be the ink, the ocean, the ink pot, the biggest branch of the celestial tree, the pen, and the earth, the writing leaf. And if by taking this, the goddess of learning writes forever, even then, the limit of your glory can never be reached. O Lord, I do not know who you are, but whatever you are, I bow down to you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. This morning our subject is Stories of Vedanta Monks, Part 37, which is a series of lectures based on the second generation monks of the Ramakrishna order. What is God realization? This is the common question. When you utter the word God, we think of omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, all-powerful, all-pervading, all-merciful. These are the words come to our minds to understand what is God. Ashesha Kalyana Guna Sampanna, Ramanuja says, he is endowed with vast, good, auspicious, noble qualities. Actually, human beings cannot comprehend the infinite God. And Sri Ramakrishna gave an illustration. A tiny ant went to the sugar mountain and took a particle of sugar and brought to its own that hole. And thinking that one day I shall bring the whole mountain in my hole. I remember once in 1977 I was going to Badrinath. So on the way we stopped, and the place we stopped there was a high range of mountain. So I stood there and looked up, nearly 20,000, 23,000, 21,000 feet high. And I was thinking how human beings are so small compared to that vast mountain range. Amazing. Mundaka Upanishad gave us a glimpse of the cosmic God. Ognir Murdha, Chakshushi Chandra Surjau, Disha Srote, Bhagvivetasya Vedaha, Vayu Prana, Hridayam Vishwamaisya, Padvyam Prithivi Hi Esha Sarvabhutantaratma. His head is the fire. His one eye is the sun, the other is the moon. And all 10 sides are his ears. His speech is the Vedas. The prana, the vayu, is his prana. With his 2 feet, from his 2 feet, the whole universe came out, emanated. That is the way our rishis, sages, described about the cosmic God. Somehow we try to understand God as perfect. In the domain of Maya, nothing is perfect. It is a mixture of good and evil, truth and untruth. Only God is perfect. There is no Maya, no ignorance is in the domain of that cosmic consciousness. Bible says, be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This perfection is inherent in human beings. Swamiji says religion is the manifestation of perfection. What does God realization mean? I shall read a little passage from Swami Bhuteshanandaji Maharaj. It means God will be real to us to the degree to which divine qualities will be manifested in ourselves. That is, as we realize God, we become godlike. The more we proceed towards Him, the more we imbibe that ideal in our minds, and when we have fully achieved that stage of perfect purity, we lose our individuality, our limitations, and become one with Him. Complete realization means complete identification with the Godhead and elimination of the idea of separateness from God. This is the God realization in the Advaita Vedantic point of view. In the Upanishad also we find yato dakam shuddhe shuddham asiktam tadrige bhavati evam munir bijanita atma bhavati gautama. The water mixed water, but both becomes the same, completely one. Similarly, the Jivatma and the Paramatma, when they are identified, they become one. But the dualists view differently. They do not want to be sugar. They do not want to be one with God. They want to keep separateness from God because they can enjoy the rasa madhurya. I do not want to be sugar. I want to taste sugar, Ram Prasad said. Even if you offer nirvana, mukti, liberation to a devotee, he will refuse. I don't want liberation. I want to love God, serve God. That is the way I get maximum joy and happiness. Don't think that everybody wants liberation. I remember once a devotee asked, Swami, I like to have samadhi. I said, before you attain samadhi, you hire somebody who will hold you. When you will be in Samadhi, you have no body consciousness. You may fall. Ramakrishna broke his tooth, broke his hand. Moreover, sometimes I frighten them. I said, well, if you realize God, you know what will happen? Within 21 days, you will die. Do you want to die? It happened to Swami Vivekananda. He was scared. When Sri Ramakrishna said, here is a cup of syrup, and you are an ant. How will you drink that syrup? Swamiji said, I shall sit on the brink of that cup and sip, exchanging my neck from the syrup. Sri Ramakrishna said, why don't you jump into that syrup and drink? Oh, sir, then I shall die. My child, in the ocean of Satchidananda, nobody dies. Just see. We are afraid to lose our individuality, ego. God's realization means complete effacement of ego and individuality. Extremely difficult. Sri Ramakrishna told the Brahmos, "Tumra share mate acho, ami to jole gechi." You people are very, very fortunate and very intelligent. You have world, you enjoy the world, and sometimes you think about God. You have both. But myself, I am completely burnt out. That means the world completely effaced, has been effaced from my mind. Only God remains. Eko rasho. Only one thing, God and God alone. Then what shall we do? Hanuman gave a beautiful solution. Vedantins also follow it. Deho buddha dashoshmi. Jiva buddhya twadangshaka. Atma vidya, atma buddhya, tvame baham, iti me nishchita mutihi. Beautiful, beautiful solution of our spiritual journey. When I think that I have a body, at that time I think, oh Lord, you are the master, I am your servant, I want to serve you. When I think I am a jiva, individual soul, I think I am the part of God, as the sun and its rays. God, I am the part. As Jesus says, I am the vine, ye are the branches. Like that kind of relationship. Atma buddhya tome baham. When I think I am the Atman, I think you and me both are the same. Iti me nishchita bhotihi. This is my firm conviction. So this is the way we see that where we are. How do I understand God realization? You see, in Vedanta, there is a God, there is God with form and God without form. The God without form is Satchidananda. Existence, consciousness, bliss, absolute. Full of consciousness. And God with form, that God is impersonal. Brahman is impersonal. But the God with form is personal. In that case, everybody is God. I am God, you are God, all human beings are God, birds, beasts, trees, everything is God, because the same consciousness pervades everything. Each soul is potentially divine. The soul, the Atman, consciousness is in every being, so everybody is God. As Swamiji says, that is a democratic conception of God. Each soul is potentially divine. The religion is the manifestation of divinity, already in human beings. That manifestation of divinity is the goal of a spiritual life. Now the question arises, if I am God, then why do I not know it? Answer is simple. Because of ignorance, we are hypnotized by Maya. As Vedanta says, you are a king but acts like a beggar. You forgot your true nature. Swarajya Siddhi, regain your lost empire. How can I dehypnotize myself? Vedanta says, practice spiritual disciplines. Practice first 4 outer disciplines: discrimination, renunciation, self-control, burning desire for liberation. These are the 4 external spiritual disciplines according to Vedanta. And 3 internal disciplines: hearing, reflecting, and meditating. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. This is the way you can illumine yourself. Upanishads gave various mantras. One mantra is very famous, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Aham Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Saitya, Sabhava, Paramananda, Ananta, Adhyayam, Brahma. These are the mantras we find in the Vedanta tradition to dehypnotize ourselves. Instead of thinking, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm an Indian, I'm an American, these are all superimpositions on the Atman. Well, when will be illumined, what will happen? We'll be Jivan Mukta. We'll be free. At that time, we will know our true nature. Sometimes we find a person, not rich, ordinary person, but good actor. He is acting on the stage in the role of Julius Caesar or Pharaoh or king. But he knows that he is not the king. He is acting. So in this world, we are all acting. I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a Swami, I'm an engineer. These are all acting. Actually, we are the Atman. So we'll have to dehypnotize ourselves. When that personality ego is gone, we realize our true nature. Ego. This ego is the wall between the infinite and the finite. The moment we break this ego wall, we become one with the infinite. We are like bubbles floating on the ocean of Satchidananda. When bubble breaks, we become one with the ocean. That is God realization. But dualists have various kinds of concepts. They have a vision of God. There are various 5, 6 kinds of mukti. Anyhow, I just give you some ideas when people think, what is God realization? Maharaj said the right thing. You will develop God-like nature. You are not going to change your body. You are not going to have 8 hands and 10 heads and 5, 6 feet. The body will remain the same, but the inner being will change. And when God dwells in human beings, we experience joy, festivity all the time. All good, happiness, bliss floats in our minds. Anyhow, God realization is our goal. That's Sri Ramakrishna says. The goal of human life is to realize God. Now I shall start our book, the Prachin Sadhudev Kotha, this one, volume 2, page 303. Reminiscences of Swami Vishuddhananda by Swami Chetanananda. I knew both of them. Vishuddhanandaji was the vice president of our order, and Chetananandaji was an editor when I went to Udbodhan in 1951 to 56, 57. He was the editor. Then he came to San Francisco and he was the head of the Sacramento Center. He wrote his own reminiscences. But in 1927, Swami Chetanananda was a student, and he went to Puri for pilgrimage. So one day he decided to visit Bhubaneswar, which is not very far. It is another holy place. So he came, and we have a monastery there, and Swami Vishuddhananda was the head of the center in 1927. But the moment I went, Swami received me very cordially, gave me a room because I wanted to stay one night. Then he guided me what are the important temples and visiting and places to see. Those who have visited Bhubaneswar, you know, Udaygiri, Khandagiri, to like Ajanta Ellora, how the Buddhist monks curved inside the mountain and made caves, which is worth seeing. I think I visited a couple of times. It is nice to see. So Swami suggested, there is a shortcut route through the jungle. Don't be afraid. Go and visit that place. And he told other places to see. Then I had my food, lunch. And then at night, he came to my room to check whether I have blankets and warm clothing or not to sleep. Then again, early in the morning, I had the train back to Puri. He came with a kerosene lantern in hand. And during my departure, he saw me off. But I was so impressed that I am a schoolboy, a college student, and here is a Swami, mother's disciple, such a senior monk. How he looked after me. That little service, sometimes it penetrates inside us and we shall never forget. Then in 1930, the Swami joined the monastery, Swami Chetananandaji, and 3-4 years he stayed in Belur Math. At that time, Swami Shivananda was alive. He wrote that every morning all monks would come to Swami Shivananda for blessing. He was the president of the order and the disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. Everybody knew Swami Vishuddhananda because he was a great sadhaka. You see, they are like spiritual dynamos. if you go and sit near them, you will feel peace and joy. So some Calcutta people would come to visit him and he used to talk to them about his spiritual life, about Mother. So every morning all monks would come to Swami Shivananda's room. So seeing Swami Vishuddhananda, Mahapurush Maharaj said, Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachyati. Everything, this is full, that is full. The Brahman is full, full, full. But I experienced that. So Vishuddhananda says, Maharaj, please bless me so that I can have the same experience. Yes, you will have that experience. Another day, one Swami asked Swami Shivananda, Maharaj, how is your health? You are talking about my health. Health has old age, it has bad age, it has some disease. It comes and goes. But I experience the Atman. The purpose of my birth is over. I realized what is to be realized, God. The direct disciples who tell their experiences to this young generation and inspire them how to realize God. One day Mahapurush Maharaj, all monks came to his room. There was a yellow rose in a vase on his desk. So when all monks came, he pointed out that rose. Do you see that rose? One flower. It is fully bloomed with its beauty, with its fragrance, captured the whole room, captured the whole atmosphere. One flower, only one. Similarly, if there is only one genuine monk in the monastery, everything goes smoothly. Lord provides everything to them, to the monks. Swami Vishuddhanandaji was the head of the Ranchi center. Ranchi is in Bihar at that time. Very seclusion. He lived in seclusion. But many people from Calcutta would go to him to have his company. Sometimes Vishuddhanandaji would go to Benares and just stay there for some months. At night, after supper, Swami Achalananda, Swamiji's disciple, Vishuddhananda, all the senior monks would sit, and all the young monks would assemble. And these disciples, the senior monks, would talk about Holy Mother, about Swamiji, about Sri Ramakrishna. That is missing nowadays. That gathering is so important in a spiritual life. Satsang, the company of the holy. Swami says that when Swami Virajanandaji would come from Shamlatal to Belur Math during winter, Swami Vishuddhananda also used to come. Both are mother's disciples. I used to watch how they would discuss about spiritual life. It is a great education for the younger monks. We are so inspired. Then when Swami Vishuddhanandaji became a vice president, and he had to travel all over, many centers all over India, and give initiation to the devotees. And he used to held satsang, holy discussion. And some people would write down his talk. At that time there was no tape recorder. In longhand they used to write. And those talks would come as articles in the Udbodhan magazine. I remember, I used to read it in early 1950s. We are the subscriber of the Udbodhan magazine, my brother. So I used to read those talks. Swami Vishuddhanandaji told Swami Shraddhananda, you know, those are talks extemporary I spoke, you please edit it, correct it, so that it can come right. Those talks, perhaps you remember, I think last 1 or 2 years ago, I gave a series of talks. Gems from the Guardian of Saints. Most probably those talks you will find in our website, in YouTube. Those talks are based on Swami Vishuddhanandaji's talk, spiritual talks of Swami Vishuddhananda. Those who want to build their spiritual lives, those talks will be very helpful. Swami Vishuddhananda wrote many letters to Swami Shraddhananda. I was trying to get those letters anyhow. So that is Swami Shraddhananda's reminiscences about Vishuddhananda. Then Swami Atmasthananda wrote his reminiscences. Well, Swami Atmasthananda was at that time was in charge of the Ramakrishna Mission TB Sanatorium. And Swami Vishuddhananda was in the another center of the Ramakrishna in Morabadi. Swami Atmasthananda says, you know, I just may tell you in brief a few things you people are asking. Quite often we used to hear from Swami Vishuddhanandaji, Aage Ramakrishna, Tarpar Mission. First Ramakrishna, then Ramakrishna Mission. Aage Ishwar, pore Jagat. First God, then the world. First love Thakur, meditate on Sri Ramakrishna, and then work, Ramakrishna's work. Forgetting Ramakrishna, if you work, you will be deluded. Then he said another story I remember. I was not in sanitarium, I had a nice dog. And the dog was when I came back for a month or two, I saw the dog was very emaciated, not very strong, or not healthy. Because other monks did not feed that dog properly. So Vishuddhanandaji was very upset. He said, "Shh, you people cannot take care of an animal." So he used to give his Sunday some food every day to that dog. But I was very touched, observing Maharaj's affection, love, even for an animal. Swami Atmasthanandaji was an attendant of Swami Virajananda, who was then president. He was a president from 1939 till 1951. Swami Virajananda was the president. He was a Swamiji's monastic disciple, mother's initiated disciple. And Swami Vishuddhanandaji used to stay very close to his room. So one day I was very disturbed because heavy responsibilities, taking care of the Swami, doing all kinds of errands. I had no time to sit for meditation. So I told Swami Vishuddhanandaji, Maharaj, my mind is very down. Too much work. Maharaj looked at me and said, তুই কালীঘাটের গঙ্গা দেখেছিস? Did you see that a small, you call it Kali Ganga, small tunnel came from the main Ganges. They would call it Kali Ganga. Did you see that Ganges? But yes, Maharaj, I saw, but that is so polluted. So many bad things are floating on that, in that water. But nobody can bathe there. It's just so dirty. Maharaj said, you will have to jump in that, sometimes flashing this surface, you just give a dip and come out. You must have a bath in this and that pure Ganges. But I shall never forget. There is a famous saying in Vedantic tradition, Taddinam durdidam manne megachannam na durdinam yaddinam horigata pijusho virapa sanglup virapa burjitam. A cloudy day is not a bad day. That day is really bad, the day we do not talk about God. Beautiful. Next reminiscence is by Swami Ramanandaji. I knew him very well. He was an editor of Udbodhan magazine, good writer, poet. He was the president of Udbodhan, Bombay. He wrote his reminiscences about three Swamis. It came in 1975, I remember. Then I couldn't resist myself. I translated the whole article into English, and it came in Prabuddha Bharata November issue, 1975. I shall read a little bit from that article. You will enjoy it. Do you know why? We monks, we have some problems, real problems. About karma. Why should I work? We have come here to realize God, but why should we work? Busy with the activities, this, that, hospitals, educational institutions, publications. We have come here to realize God, why should we work? Monks have problems. I had a problem, he could not reconcile. He left the Ramakrishna order and went to the Himalayas. He decided, I shall live on alms, begging food, living like a mendicant. He died. It was 1935. Swami Arupananda, Rajbihari Maharaj, was the attendant of Holy Mother. He used to live in Banaras, came to Calcutta, and this young, at that time, he may be a brahmachari, I do not know whether he joined at that time or not, maybe, Swami Ramanandaji, Vibhuti Maharaj. This old Swami took this young brahmachari and said, hey, I have a doctor's appointment, eye doctor, in the evening. So you accompany me. At that time, Swami Madhavananda, who was the assistant secretary at that time, 1935, he came to San Francisco in 1920s. Then he returned. He was a very, very famous monk of the Ramakrishna order. So Madhavanandaji came also to bow down to the Holy Mother, which is in Udbodhan house. And Rajbihari Maharaj was asking, "Hey, Nirmal," Madhavananda's pre-monastic name, "I see a big bundle and file in your hand. Where are you going in this evening?" "Oh, Rajbihari Da," Da means brother Rajbihari, respectful. Dada means elder brother. "Rajbihari Da, we will have to get a plot of land west of Belur. For the reason I am going to a lawyer for consultation." Rajbihari Maharaj, very old style monks. "Nirmal, do you remember when we joined what we have seen? We have seen the current of spirituality. Japa, meditation, study, the Jari disciples inspired us. And the new generation will see office, typewriter, at that time no computer, and file and accounts, they are seeing these things. What we saw and what they are seeing. Do you remember?" "Of course I do, Rajbihari Da. That spiritual current is forcing us to move forward." Let me tell you, brother, the person who brought these young brahmacharis, young monks in the order, he will look after them. I don't know, we do not tell them that follow us, follow Sri Ramakrishna, follow Swamiji. They will learn, they will know, watching Sri Ramakrishna's and Swamiji's life and teachings. Taking their ideas, we jumped into action. We know they are behind us, they will guide us, they will protect us. Then Rajbihari says, "But these boys have not seen those illumined monks of the Ramakrishna order, the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Who will guide them?" Rajbihari, these boys left home reading Sri Ramakrishna's and Swamiji's books. They are attracted by their ideals. And that is the way, that is the reason they wanted to observe, imitate their life, that is spiritual life. They will not have to learn anything from us. Then they are walking through the Bagbazari street, and this Niramayananda was behind. These two great Swamis, both are disciples of Mother, talking to each other, and they are walking. Then suddenly Swami Madhavananda told Swami Arupananda, "Rajbihari, the water of the Ganges in Gangotri, in Rishikesh, in Hardwar, crystal clear, clean, unpolluted. But the water in Calcutta, muddy, polluted. But whatever it may be, the Mother Ganges did not lose her purifying power. Same water. Mother Ganges did not lose her purifying power, whether it is in Gangotri or in Calcutta. Then we came to the junction of Shambhajar. A bus was about to leave. Swami Madhavananda hurriedly went and put his feet on the board and grabbed the handle and says, Rajbihari, goodbye. Then Rajbihari Maharaj told Swami Ramananda, did you notice? He's brilliant. He's brilliant. He said the right thing. The Mother Ganges did not lose her purifying power. That is the first section. Second section, very interesting. The Swami in 1942, the previous one was 1935. In 1942, the Swami went to Konkan, Hardwar. That is the foothill of the Himalayas. We have a big hospital there. So I wanted to see the pure crystal clear water of the Ganges. Among the monks, they have some kind of discussion, karma or tapasya. Action, activities of the hospital and the monastery or anything, and tapasya, austerity. Whole time practicing japa and meditation. So this is the conflict among the monks. And now Swami Virajananda came from Shamlatal to visit Konkal. After the Vesper service, Swami Virajanandaji wanted to meet all monks in the library. They have a good library, many old books are there. He was the president of the order with beard, very serene, a great, great Swami. He asked the questions from the monks. And the monks asked the questions, then he answered. I shall read the answer. It will be very interesting then if I go paraphrasing. It is very, very beautiful. Work and worship both are needful. One should not underrate either one. You have left your homes to become monks, according to the ideal of Swamiji. So giving up work, where will you stand? And again, without tapasya, austerity, including contemplation, meditation, retired life and worship, how is it possible to perform unselfish work? You need both in your life. The work which you are doing now, you will have to do with the attitude of service and worship. In other words, shunning selfishness and ego. This attitude does not come without tapasya. This tapasya does not mean that you will have to go to the secluded places of the Rishikesh and Uttarkashi. Yet, on the other hand, there is no injunction against going to these places. Swamiji introduced this plan of work, and at the same time, what a longing he had to practice tapasya in the Himalayas. You will have to bring synthesis of work and worship into your life. If there is no tapasya behind your work, the terrible ego will creep in and you will forget the goal of life. Then Swami Niramayanandaji was got his monastic vows from Birajanandaji. At that time, Birajanandaji gave a talk to the monks. Please listen. Sannyasa, monasticism, is not the goal of life, but a means to attain the knowledge of the Atman. Sannyasa itself is not perfection, but a discipline. After taking these monastic vows, do not think that the purpose of living the worldly life is achieved. Now we have got the opportunity to enter into a higher realm of life. Always honor these vows. Never forget the memorable great day, the day you left your parents and relatives, hearth and home for God, and the intensity of renunciation and love for God that filled your mind. Keep that attitude of renunciation vividly alive in your mind, and that will save you. I look at these young and pure brahmacharis with great regard. They are walking steadily towards God and intense love and devotion. That was a brief talk Swami gave to the new monks. Swami Niramananda was one of them. So we covered Swami Madhavananda and Arupananda and Birajananda. Next. Again, it was in 1933. Swami Niramananda at that time was a student. He was a member of Vivekananda Society, Calcutta. I used to go there also when I was a student to attend some classes. That center was started by Sister Nivedita, Vivekananda Society. It is now a big building on Vivekananda Road. I lectured there once, I remember. So he went with a report of the Vivekananda Society to Belur Math because it was a branch of the Ramakrishna Mission, unofficial branch. So I asked Swami Shuddhanandaji. At that time, I think he was 1933, he was the General Secretary. The Swami asked, that also I shall read to you. Maharaj, do those who come here only work, or do they practice spiritual disciplines also? Swami Shuddhananda replied, what do you mean? Look at the holy atmosphere of the Ganges in Belur Math, the serene temples and beautiful monasteries. Moreover, these men have embraced this pure monastic life. If they do not practice japa and meditation, what else will they do? How long can a man work, and how long can he practice spiritual disciplines? So Swamiji started this monastery. Those who will come here, in the beginning may work and worship and with different attitudes, but gradually we learn to work as worship, and at last the work will be worship. Have not you heard Swamiji saying, work is worship? Those who join the monastery do not all have tremendous renunciation when they leave home. So there is a need for a spiritual organization. In a place where most of the people are inspired by spirituality, whoever comes will be inspired in the same way. Swamiji used to call it purity drilling, or you may say spiritual training. Swamiji sometimes mentioned the monastery as a springboard where people would try to build their lives for higher spiritual realization. I tell you from my experience, Swamiji introduced these activities in the Ramakrishna order. It is a boon for us. We are not that kind of monks who can go to the Himalayas and just full-time japa and meditation. Swamiji saw millions of monks in India are leading that kind of life. What a tremendous, colossal waste of human energy. Swamiji made this Ramakrishna Order this way. He took this young generation, gave them this spiritual training, and used to uplift the society, to regenerate human beings. You know, that is the reason he wrote the motto of the Ramakrishna Order, Atmanamokshartam Jagodhitaya cha. I am going to embrace this monastic life for my own liberation and for doing good to humanity. For the good to humanity. So we can kill two birds by one arrow. Only one-sided is not right. Swamiji says these monks, itinerant monks, they are taking food from the society. Who feed them? And they should contribute something to the society. So give and take, that is the law. We serve devotees and devotees serve us. Sri Ramakrishna's disciples, they are different categories. Work is so important. What will you do if there is no work? And this work is worship. I sometimes read proof, sometimes I cannot go to the shrine, but I do not feel bad. Reading proof, I know I am doing the same thing which I am doing in the shrine. In the shrine I am trying to think of God. In proof reading I am also thinking of God. To me both are the same. Shrine, sitting, shrine, japam and meditation, and reading proof, reading Ramakrishna's books, same to me. That is work and worship. That must go together. The contemplative life and active life, this problem is in all monasteries. I mean, the Christian monastery, everywhere you will find contemplative life and active life. Both should be done simultaneously. But there are some people, special people in our order also, they go for tapasya. Belur Math allows them. Well, go in a brief period, do 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, do extreme tapasya. Sometimes their health breakdown, they die. I knew a Swami. He was the president of Advaita Ashrama, left the center, went to Uttarkashi, became very sick. The other monks brought him to Benares and died. Sacrifice your life for the good of many, for the welfare of all. That is the way you will find fulfillment in life. Not only for the monks, I am talking about for the devotees also. Those who come here, I always say, give some service to the center. That way you will feel that I am serving the Lord. This center is a limb of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Swamiji said. Through this center, Sri Ramakrishna's, Swamiji's, mothers, and the Vedantic teachings will flow. Swami may come, Swami may go, but these teachings will flow forever. Thank you. Atma me shuddhantam jyotiraham viraja vipapma bhuyasam. Antaratma me shuddhantam jyotiraham viraja vipapma bhuyasam. Paramatma me Shuddhantam Jyotiraham Virajabi Papma Bhoyasam. May my body become pure. May I be free from impurities and ignorance. May I realize myself as the light of divine. May my mind become pure. May I be free from impurities and ignorance. May I realize myself as the light of divine. May my soul become pure. May I be free from impurities and ignorance. May I realize myself as the light divine. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Next Sunday, our topic will be Thoughts on the Gita. So now there will be a Zoom session, question and answer. Please keep your questions ready and give us a few minutes time. We shall connect you. Thank you.